we were having a funny chat in one of our chats about just old code, and it actually came up just because of like spacing that we used to do when I worked on client work back at an old company 10, 12 years ago. And I wanted to talk about this code because I thought it was super fun, and I always love taking walks down nostalgia lane. So this was an app we worked on for a client when I was at Append2, which is no longer a thing. It was an awesome time. It was one of the best times I ever had writing code. And again, I think this was in, 10 years ago. Look at that. Super fun. So let's take a look at this. So this is an AMD app, asynchronous module definition, AMD. It is wrapped with Cordova. It was for a client doing like medicine, I think, for like a showing, information about a medicine. And we had, all this awesome stuff that I just had to go and look at. Look at SCSS. We were using all that goodness from SAS back in the day. Let's go look at the app though. This is where I think it gets super fun. So this was here's our JS folder, and let's start with our app, our main.js. So this is like the entry point into the application. You had this is kind of like, before Webpack, you had sort of a same concept. You had an entry point on your page, and then you would run an AMD production build that would start here and traverse through all your modules. You always started with your require, and then the very first thing that we had to actually start the app was, just like we do in React these days, is have our app component. And so our app component has all these this is AMD, right? So this predates CommonJS. So this was a way to load modules in a way that we had never been able to do before AMD. This was just right after where you were having, script tags having to come in the right order. This was like amazing, revolutionary way to do stuff. And of course, they came in, in the exact same order you required it. This is what I was talking about in our chat inside Microsoft. We were talking about this hilarious style spacing. And we used to do all that by hand. We didn't have prettier. There was no such thing as prettier. We had JS hint. I don't even think we had ESLint. We had JS hint, no ESLint. So we also used this pub sub library called Postal that my friend Jim Cowart wrote, which actually technically still used today. It's actually a pretty phenomenal way to do pub sub in a big app. We used things like mock jacks to mock specific test cases. We did, so then look at this. This is nice, right? So I think, a lot of people, when they think of jQuery apps from 10, 12 years ago, they think like, oh, jQuery, spaghetti. We're used to thinking of, that spaghetti nonsense that you could do with jQuery, but we were building some pretty neat stuff. This AMD module syntax really enabled us to build, this very focused components like we do today with React or Angular or any of the other things that we do. So we had an app component, and you could spin that guy up. Get passed in from app constructor here, and so this was sort of the, we're using functions, doing prototypey things, underscore.extend using app.prototype. So we kind of had, classes in a way. We had to make sure we did bind this somewhere probably to make sure that we just used var self because that was the other old pattern we used to use. With Postal, we had the ability to listen to messages on different channels and react, if something happened on that channel with Postal. So pretty cool pub sub type things. Let's see here, what else do we got here? We had a finite state machine that I think that's in the FSM. So for connectivity, those kinds of things, your app could enter different states. And depending on which state your app entered, it would fire messages that the whole app could listen to, kind of almost Redux-like, I guess, but with pub sub, right? So you'd have be able to do like when the window goes online, the finite state machine would set the app to window.online, and then that would publish a message somewhere that the app could listen to and react to, like getting back online, those kinds of things. So that was all really fun. Let's go back into the app. So this is again, we had an Amplify JS store which was a way to store to create these like definitions for HTTP requests that you could then mock out later. I think I have one. I think there was one I saw. Where was that? Oh yeah, these are all Backbone models too, by the way. I should have mentioned that. So we had Backbone that was like, that was the front end library for doing frameworks back then too. Right? It had all this just awesome stuff built into it that made working with like the MVC pattern really nice back when we were doing this. Our main app view here would do, we're doing all the this.$el.empty.appends. But again, like instead of just randomness all scattered throughout your app, we had these nice functions with Backbone. The render method on Backbone would get fired when the app got initialized, thanks to the postal pub sub system. You call render and add itself to the view, create a navigation view, and yeah, I mean, this was really good stuff. This was a super fun way to write code, and sometimes jQuery gets a bad rap for how bad you could write code, but I would make the case that you pretty much you can pretty much write bad code in any framework at any moment in time. There were good patterns back then that existed to make jQuery apps not spaghetti nastiness, and this was an example of it. And I thought this was pretty revolutionary stuff we were doing 10, 11 years ago. And I would just love going and taking a look at all this old code. It really helps remind me of how far we've come as an industry, but also that like things change but don't. You swap some of these paradigms for React and you're pretty much writing the same code. And I'm looking at, I cracked this back open and I'm looking at this going, this code it's not bad. Like, if you told me that I needed to work on this, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I could go in there and figure this out relatively easy. Now, this was a little bit more complicated with all the pub sub and all the stuff flying around, but generally speaking, we were able to write pretty cool jQuery code 10 years ago that I don't know, it looks pretty sustainable and scaled pretty well for the tides of time. But anyways, yeah, I just loved this. I wanted to share this with everybody. I thought this was kind of fun, and I'll have to send this to some of my old Append 2 coworkers. I can't believe I even still have this code. I just happened to crack open an old MacBook Pro or MacBook Air that I bought years ago for that job, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this code is still on here. Oh, here's the amplify thing I was looking for. There's like this way to define an amplify request, and then production would be one thing and tests would be another thing. Oh, we even have unit tests in here too. We're doing tests of all this stuff too, double checking that the inner HTML was right when you render views, and God, yeah, good stuff. Anyway, thought that was fun. Just a quick overview of some fun old code. Point being, it's fun to look back, take a little walk down memory lane, and think about how we used to write things. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe and follow for more fun, more nostalgia. Hopefully we'll eventually talk about new code too and not just old code. But